We are good to
Okay.
start whenever.
So, cutscene combos, episode 2. We survived another whole week. Look at that.
Yeah, does this make us consistent now?
Uh,
2 weeks in a row.
I'm gonna go 4 in a row makes us consistent.
Okay, 4 in a row.
What's the old thing about like once someone goes to a gym for like 3 weeks, it becomes a habit or something?
Yeah, isn't it 2 weeks to get a habit started, and then it takes
3 months for a lifestyle or something?
something like that? Yeah, 2 or 3
Yeah.
months.
Let's try and aim for a lifestyle.
Okay. I believe.
Okay, so we've got a number of running points for this, haven't we? So I've got a character profile for someone who's coming up in a Marvel project soon. We've got a couple of little bits of news about some stuff that's on the way in various universes, and then you've got a couple of points as well.
Yes, and
So
preference that there will be potential spoilers if you're not fully up to date.
yeah,
If there's
Just,
any serious spoilers, we'll make sure to cover.
We'll just have a running spoiler warning. We'll throw a spoiler alert up on screen, or try and remember to say it before discussing anything if you've managed to avoid this warning.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start? You know what my talking points are, so let's start with yours, because these are completely new to me and my catch me off guard, and I like that.
Okay. Then, big kind of spoiler points, but going to be going back on Spider-Man No Way Home.
Whoop whoop.
Just because every week I seem to have more ideas about where things are going now because of the events that took place.
The pure magnitude of this film keeps hitting you back in the face.
Yes, and a lot of this as well is like browsing TikTok and Twitter and seeing people's theories and different things that then I'm like, ooh, that is a potential. So these are a couple of different theories of things. First one is, I don't know if this is possible because I don't know necessarily how all Doctor Strange's spells work.
Okay.
But I wonder if there is a potential spell that reverses said effects. If someone would, obviously, like, it would need to be a situation where they know that spell is taking place, which obviously people don't. But then people seem to, because Doctor Strange knew that they'd done the spell at that full moon party, but Wong hadn't. So there's obviously the potential for people to know that spell's happened.
So here's my theory with that, and don't get me wrong, part of this is me trying to dance around minor plot holes. But my logic is, it could have been when he did that spell for the party they mentioned, that he just didn't include himself in the people who had to forget.
Yeah, that is my...
So, like, when they were originally doing the spell, the whole reason it went wrong is because Peter kept changing it, not because he wanted certain people to remember. It's just that he kept making Stephen change it. And the reason everyone had to forget this time for the final spell was otherwise there would still be people who knew, and therefore it wouldn't fix the problem.
Now,
so I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't think...
Hang on, because my reason for this is, like, if there is a potential spell that also lets you reverse that said spell's effect, Ned can now do a bit of magic, as we saw.
Yeah.
What if he is fucking about on his own, trying to figure out what he can do? And this is a very long stretch, but like this is like when maybe he's getting some training or something, and he's kind of trying stuff that he's not meant to yet. What if he accidentally undoes the spell slightly and suddenly starts remembering Peter? Just him.
I feel like that's a bit of a stretch. But I'm curious to see where this goes. They've worked really hard on developing the characters of MJ and Ned to just, for want of a better word, throw them away. While it's a brilliant direction for the Spider-Man character, I really want to know the long-term payoff.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the beauty. We have to sit here and twiddle our thumbs for however many years and come up with outlandish theories.
Yeah, and I think playing off that, this is something I'd forgotten about till you just mentioned them, but like, for potential of Ned's future in the storyline, one thing I saw was there's obviously, we kind of are expecting something to happen that kind of puts Doctor Strange back as the Sorcerer Supreme. Because it's meant to be his title in theory.
Yeah.
So
you thinking Wong's dying?
Something's going to happen to Wong. So Doctor Strange is Sorcerer Supreme again, and then maybe Ned is his first student.
Maybe.
That he teaches. So
what I'm Ned really curious is, because obviously Ned in the comics is Hobgoblin.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was the Ultimate Universe. Green Goblin wasn't Norman Osborn in a suit with like a botched super soldier serum. It was Norman Osborn took the serum and literally turned into this big Hulk goblin thing.
Right.
That could shoot like fireballs out of its hands and shit.
As you do.
Yeah. It was just a different take. They reimagined a lot of his villains, like Spider-Man's villains, like that. I'm not against the design, but I wonder if maybe they're trying to make Ned seem a bit more magical, so they can have more fun with the Hobgoblin concept.
Maybe. Oh, what if it's like during his training of like learning the sorcerer magic, he turns to the like the darker side of it, and that's what turned him into Hobgoblin.
Yeah, I think like one thing you can say about Marvel, and don't get me wrong, they tend to do it with lesser known characters, is they like to have fun with the concept of the character and play with things. Hobgoblin would seem like the perfect Spider-Man villain for that because people are aware of him, but for a lot of people, he's not like as iconic as some of the other villains.
Yeah.
So that might just give them the wiggle room they want to play with the character a little bit.
Yeah, they can be a bit more kind of free and altering it slightly.
Mm-hmm.
So, sticking in the Spider-Man No Way Home universe, my other point that I wanted to, kind of a theory, but also kind of a sad thought at the same time. We know Daredevil's back.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we saw that Kingpin was kind of, from Hawkeye, was back at the top. And there's this theory that maybe Daredevil got blipped.
Yeah.
Which would kind of make sense, but I saw this thing was like, if we're going on that theory, just think there was a point where people were getting blipped, and the way that
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
He's just going to hear those heartbeats disappear.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of people saying they want Daredevil's next project, which a lot of us are assuming will be a TV show based on his Netflix shows. A lot of people are saying they want the opening scene of that to be him just hearing New York City get quieter. And that, if done right, could be one of the most beautiful scenes ever put together.
Well, it's like, so yeah, that's what I was kind of leading on. And it's like, if you think like the first episode is that, and we saw how with Yelena, how quick it was for the person.
Yeah.
But like, we could see the moment of like it getting quieter and then he blips. But then in like the split second of him, like it obviously comes back. And then suddenly it's like 5 years. There's like chaos and different things happening, and he's experiencing all that, like the sudden thing of like New York's just suddenly in chaos because half the population's reappeared.
Yeah, there's lots of fun to be had with it, and I'm really curious to see where it goes.
Because I also think like if they do that, it kind of sells why he didn't show up in like any of the like Infinity War and Endgame, because like he got blipped, and then when he reappeared, his first priority is Hell's Kitchen and trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Like he's not going to be thinking about what fight there needs to be gone on hard.
Yeah,
so
really, really interesting to see where they go. I'm just happy to have Deadpool back.
Same, and hopefully we get some of the other characters as well.
Well, talking of new characters, let's move on to my new little segment. So, part of this is because, I mean, I didn't know a lot about this character, so I imagine a lot of other people don't know of the character as well. But I think I'll try and keep this running as often as need be, so when new characters are being introduced, or even if there are people in the comments who are like, I'd like to know more about this character, we'll do it then as well. But this week we're starting with a character who's going to be introduced in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. she is strategically placed throughout the trailer without ever being the focal point of it, which I thought was really cool. Just kind of like, oh, there she is, but no one is going to think too much about it because similar to Miles Morales, she's quite a young character. She only came into the comic in 2011. And I'm talking of Miss America or America Chavez. Now, I'm going to be honest. When I was doing initial research, I thought her superhero name was American Chavez. And not that her name was America Chavez. So let me get up her powers here because this is some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, all I know is that something with stars.
So this is really funny. So she possesses superhuman strength, durability, and the power of flight, which is, based on what I can gather, made possible by like essentially how Superman was originally portrayed to be able to fly, which is she jumps really high, really fast, and then just like glides essentially, which is how Superman originally used to fly. So that's kind of how she flies. So just insanely strong, fast, durable, and she ages super slowly. Mm-hmm. But the real iconic power of hers, I guess you could call it, is that she has the power to kick open star-shaped holes in reality.
That was it. That's what I'd heard.
And what this does is, this is like dimension hopping, and this allows her to travel throughout the multiverse.
I see.
So, a lot of people are assuming that she's going to be like guiding Doctor Strange through the multiverse of madness, or they bump into each other, or something like that. But gives us lots of options, and it also gives us a character within the MCU that can just grab people from legacy films or like an Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, whenever we want them without it being a plot hole. You can just go, oh, they just asked America to go grab them. It's fine.
So, a question, I don't know if you have the answer, but if she's from some or has these powers, is there others like her? Like there's
as far as I know, she's very unique with her power to go through reality in this way. There might be people who can hop reality as well that I'm not aware of or that I'm overlooking. But she's the only one that does it in such a badass way of kicking open a star-shaped door through the world.
Because, like, my thought just then was, I wonder if there's some book about, like, the multiverse that Strange is researching, and it talks about people that have that ability, and he goes looking, and that's how he bumps into her, maybe.
So I'm not going to try and butcher the actress who's playing her first name. I'm so sorry. I do not even know where to start with it. The last name is Gomez, so I'm just going to call her Miss Gomez.
Safe.
She's it's not an actress I've seen before. I don't recognise her, and I'm really good with remembering actors and actresses' faces. So she might have had a role when she was a little bit younger, and she's just grown up and her face has changed a bit. But I really am curious to see how accurate to the comics they keep her. Because, like, based on what I've read, when like at her strongest, she was throwing down with Carol Danvers of the 616 continuity and holding her own. So she's strong.
Right, okay.
Like, proper strong. So I'm curious to see where they go with her with that, and I'm really excited to see how this character changes the scope of the MCU, because, like, with everything that's come through in Phase 4, which started with Far From Home,
yep,
everything since then has had a mention of the multiverse. And every time we've gone, okay, so this is when the multiverse is going to open. But what if Phase 4 is just us starting to understand the multiverse a little bit before it opens at the end of Phase 4?
Yeah, I think they're just going to drip feed it.
Yeah, we're just getting little bits and pieces of what could happen, what won't happen.
Yeah, I think I definitely see like that idea of it being more towards the end of Phase 4 when it kind of all opens up, because
exactly
they need. You've also got to look at it as like the comic book readers understand the multiverse because it's been in comics and like explained.
Yeah, it's been there for so long now.
But the majority of the MCU watchers won't understand it, so they've got to kind of drip feed it. And
and also they're going to build their own rules with how the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, interacts with the multiverse. It's not going to be a simple I would think, as it is in the comics, where they can just go, okay, we just go write it like this, and then we'll change it when we want to. Because I think, as stupid as it sounds, comic readers aren't, although they can be strict about things, they're not as strict about continuity resets and stuff because they're just so used to it, whereas film watchers aren't.
Yeah, they're kind of used to the comic book reasosoning of different universe.
It's different because we say so, just accept it, and they go, okay, cool.
Yeah. Interesting,
but
though.
So yeah, no, I'm super excited to see how she goes. And like I said, we've got lots of new projects coming up. So take a little bit of time each week to go through characters. And if in the comics anyone wants to ask about a particular character, feel free, and I'll see what I can do.
See, now I'm just thinking about all the. She could be the key to bringing in X-Men.
But this is what we've said about the last 6 projects, isn't it?
True.
We thought the end of Spider-Man was going to break down all the walls and all the characters were going to flood in and blah, blah, blah.
Something
that meme of who broke the multiverse is just getting bigger and bigger at this point.
Yeah, and everyone. So something I saw was everyone's constantly trying to line up things happening with the end of Loki.
Yeah, I don't put a lot of stock in that.
No, I don't, because I'm pretty. I don't know if take this with a grain of salt. I might have read wrong, but I'm pretty sure one of the writers or the ones behind Loki show was like. He's like, if we'd not had a pandemic, Loki would have come way down the line from these films. Like, it was at a different point in. It was later on originally. Yeah. So, like, this idea of everything's lining up with the Loki ending, it's like, the Loki thing should have come afterwards.
Yeah. And do you know what another thing, sorry, this is slightly off topic, it's going back to the film fans not being on the same wavelength as comic book fans. You see a lot of film fans like making jokes about Spider-Man at the end of No Way Home when you see his new No Way Home. You see his new suit and you see him flying over Rockefeller, which is where the end of Hawkeye takes place. Everyone's joking that Spider-Man's just like, oh, there's Clint, I'm friends with him, I still remember him, I'm just going to let him keep fighting this big scary fight by himself. This happens all the time in comics. Could you imagine if in every single comic, every character in the vicinity came to help with every little thing?
Yeah,
a lot of people need to just take a step back and go, if a character's not in it, they're not in it. Which you don't have to assume they're just choosing to not be there.
Yeah, and also, like, that moment of him swinging over the top, like, it could have been... Like, the Hawkeye thing could have happened earlier.
Yeah.
And, like... Obviously, Spider-Man had all the shit he had going on, or it could have been later on. Like,
exactly.
You don't know exactly where it lines up, so...
Exactly. This could be after Peter. This could be during Peter in that period, just before Christmas, just before the portals got open and stuff. You don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I just thought that was quite funny. So I think the next bit of big news is Batman got its official rating.
It did.
It's going to be a PG-13 rated film. But interestingly, I'm not sure if you noticed. So the form that gets released states the reasons why it's PG-13. And people compared the one for this Batman film to Christian Bale's ones.
Yep.
And people are looking at them going, this Batman has a lot more extreme wording in why it's a PG-13. So people are convinced, yes, it is a PG-13, but people are thinking it's like right on that brink. And if they changed one scene out, that it probably would have been higher.
Yeah, a lot of it can be like the way a scene is shot as well.
Yeah. My big question is, was the director told it had to be a PG-13? And also... did, like, maybe he wasn't told, maybe it was a discussion and he agreed with their points. But as superhero films go, and for a character like Batman, it's a pretty low budget film. It's similar to the first Deadpool film in budget, which was not a lot. It was like 100 million, which, yes, I know is a lot of money, but as budgets for films go, it's not that much, especially for a comic book film in this day and age. So I think a lot of us, when we saw that low budget, were assuming they've not put as much money into it because they know they're going to make it an older age rating and therefore won't make as much money. And Deadpool showed, if you spend 100 million on a adult comic book film, you're still going to be absolutely fine and make a fuck ton of money. Or was it just the way it happened? They told the story they wanted to tell. They did the shots they wanted to shoot. They edited it how they wanted to edit it, and it came out how it came out.
That's what I was going to say. I wonder if it was like less that the director or anything was told how to be hit PG-13, or if it was just like tell the story you want to tell and shoot it in the way that you think fits best.
I remember I saw someone make a really good point.
Like, they put it in and they're like, if it gets rated R, it gets rated R. If it gets rated and whatever, they're like, it is whatever. And it just happened to come out as a PG-13.
So Matt Reeves is the director. Just give me 2 seconds here, because someone else was. I saw someone make a very good point about he made another film that was like still really dark and really gritty, but also managed to be a PG-13. Oh, it was the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and the War of the Planet of the Apes films. He did them.
Yeah, they're good film. I like them films.
And like that.
Yeah, there's some brutal points in those films.
So like he knows how to tell a dark and scary story while staying in the confines of PG-13. So I'm not overly concerned. I still think it's going to be a good film.
Yeah, and I know from different things, like a lot of the times the rating comes down to what's visually shown, which comes down to just like the way of a camera angle or how something's shot. Like, you can still tell like
Batman cracking skulls, but it's happening out of shot. But you know it's happening.
You just see it from Batman's back, like from behind. Yeah. Like you don't actually see the skull.
Well, it's like the bit in the trailer where he goes on vengeance, and like the guy's below him on the floor, and you see him wailing down on the guy, but you don't see the guy he's hitting.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have preferred an R-rated one, but I'm not concerned.
I think as long as, like, if he's shot the film he wanted to and in the way that he wanted to, and it just happens to have it's come out as a PG-13, I don't think it matters. I think as long as he hasn't kind of as long as it's not altered how the film has been produced.
Exactly.
Like as long as they haven't like dumbed it down to be more kid friendly because they want the sales or whatever. Like,
I think a lot of the concern about this, rightfully so, comes from all the horror stories we've heard over the last few years of directors within the DCEU just not having any creative freedom. And I think that's where a lot of the fear comes from. I do understand it. I get why people who are fans of the character are worried about that, but I genuinely don't think in this case that that's what's happened.
So this Batman film is standalone from the DCEU? Am I right in thinking that?
As of right now, I believe it is being produced in a similar way to the Joker under DC's Black Label, I think they call it, which are just standalone stories and films they want to tell. However, with the success of Joker, and if this film is as successful, I will not be surprised to see Robert Pattinson's Batman go up against Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Well, yeah, this is where we talked last week about Flashpoint and the potential that it's going to like reset the DCU.
Yes.
I wonder if this film is successful and like the reception from the fans is a really high and a good one. I wonder if that then locks them in with the decision of this is going to get tied into the DCU through Flashpoint. Like, this is going to be the new Batman. Like, I wonder if they're kind of... not, because it's all rumors at this point still, if it's going to reset or not. And I wonder if there's like... this kind of gives them the freedom of, if they do, it is true and it comes out that like this is received well, they can go, okay, cool, we can start this reset off really well and just say, yeah, this is the new Batman. And people are
I don't know. I know this gets sound stupid how big a character Batman is. I don't know how well Robert Pattinson does as the face of an entire universe or a franchise in that way. I think for a Batman film, a Batman trilogy, he's perfect. I think once you start getting into wider universe stuff, where he excels as an actor, would potentially not be used to its fullest.
Yeah, I can see that.
I do get what you're saying, and I will not be surprised at all if this film goes and makes 800, 900, maybe even $1 billion at the box office, and then they go and we're relaunching the DCEU, and Robert Pattinson's going to be the new Batman in the DCEU. I won't be surprised, but I will be a little bit apprehensive.
I mean, if that is the way they go, I hope. I would love, and this is very unlikely because it's just going to make it. Let's be honest, it would make them harder to make money. But I would love if they just turned the whole DCU into a gritty, more PG-13 to R-rated, like that age range of like that's just what the DCU becomes, and they just make it more adult.
So now this might be where we disagree.
Oh.
I'm not necessarily against gritty, but comics are fucking fantastical and out there and ridiculous. What is this obsession with gritty and dark? You can tell really good and deep stories without it having to constantly be broody Batman, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is going to sound fucking ridiculous, but stick with me. The Lego Batman movie is the best Batman movie we've ever had.
I could quite easily agree on that. It's funny as fuck.
And it doesn't feel like he's not Batman because he's a bit ridiculous.
Oh,
you don't go. They managed to tell a good, interesting story. Don't get me wrong. I like the whole idea of him and the Joker actually being friends, but like it's beautifully told. It's really funny. They get the whole Batman voice and I'm Batman and stuff like that. But also like he feels like a badass. And he's camp and funny, and it's like that's what he always was. I'm all in on them relaunching Batman and doing a trilogy Adam West style of no actual punches thrown and it cuts to the big pals and stuff. Give it to a proper fucking out there director. I blame Tim Burton for this obsession with dark, gritty Batman. Yes, Batman is a bit dark. Yes, he is a bit gritty. But I mean, I like to be able to see my films, and for some reason, the fucking light man on all of these DC films, because of that, refuses to turn the bulbs up. And I love cinema. I'll go see anything in the cinema. And I'm sitting there and I'm fucking squinting, and it's giving me a headache because they're always so dark because they're obsessed with this dark and gritty aesthetic. And I'm just over it.
I guess the way I am meaning, like, I would hope that I'd love to see like DC go like dark and gritty. It's more like it didn't like I probably in my head is more I don't think all the films should be like that gritty, moody, whatever, but I think they should be more than okay with we're going to be a bit more violent in this film and it's an R-rated.
Yeah. I'm all in on them making it R-rated, but can they go, if they're going to do that, can they go the route of James Gunn's Suicide Squad instead of
mixed with Deadpool or something?
Yeah, just give us like literally make it a cartoon, comic book style, which is what both of them films are, Deadpool and James Gunn's Suicide Squad, and just like there's, I know you haven't seen James Gunn's Suicide Squad, so I'm going to have to ruin this scene for you.
That's fine.
But it doesn't really ruin anything. There's a scene where Harley Quinn goes on a fucking killing spree.
Right.
And she's got, I think it's a sword and a gun. And she's like, it's almost like a hallway scene that are being used a lot and not overused, in my opinion. If anything, I want more of them. Of fighting through a hallway of bad guys. But when she's slicing their throats in really brutal ways, instead of blood, you're seeing her like hallucination, and it's all pretty flowers and birds flying out of it. So it's still this really gruesome and brutal fight scene where she's like dismembering people.
Yeah.
But there's no blood. It's ridiculous cartoon. But you find yourself wincing as she cuts someone's head off, and then she like chuckles and you see like birds flying out of this decapitated head. And like that kind of ridiculousness is what I'm all for.
See, yeah, I'm for that, but then there's like a part of me would love that, like that they kept the majority of seeing that, but there's very like almost like flashpoints in that scene or
Oh,
something
for sure.
where like it
Yeah.
shows the reality of what's going on.
Yeah, no, but that's the beauty, because a lot of us, especially I feel with DC, a lot of the villains that you're going to run with are deranged. So that gives you this beautiful ability. So when you're looking at it from the villain's point of view, having these ridiculous scenes, and then you can almost have, and don't get me wrong, it's not easy to do because we've seen people try and do it and fail. You can have almost these two-toned films, which really then, without you having to implicitly have the people saying what they believe, you can show that they literally have contrasting beliefs. But, and I'm going to say this really close and into the mic in case they're listening, when you go to the hero's perspective, we still need to be able to see what is happening. Turn the fucking lights on. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, Ori. I can't do it anymore.
That's probably all done in post-processing.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure
they just turn the darkness down.
I'm pretty sure if you saw what it was like raw from the cameras, you'd be able to visualize it fine. They just darken everything.
And like I said last week, I love the Snyder Cut of Justice League. And I do want Zack Snyder to make more superhero films. But that motherfucker needs to put that, whoever is in charge and whoever says yes to what he wants needs to stop letting that man put slow-mo in every 30 seconds. Did you? I can't remember the percentage, but so it's like a 3.5 hour film. And I'm pretty sure they said, I saw somewhere that like 15% of the film is in slow motion.
Jeez.
Yes.
Now, hang on though. Do we wonder if that is because he had of what he had to work with?
No. He wanted it that way.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, because like obviously he came back and did his cut of it, but like had he been through there the whole process, he might have filmed extra stuff for those shots that he wanted. But
in the end, he did film extra stuff. Originally, he was told he couldn't film, but then he did get to film extra stuff.
Oh, then no. He needs to just chill out the slow-mo then.
For sure. I love a good slow-mo shot, but even he was overdoing it for me.
I'll make sure when I watch it to put it in 2 times.
Also, Eternals dropped yesterday onto Disney Plus.
I think it was yesterday, yeah.
Have you now? I know we're on very similar parts of TikTok. Have you seen what's happened?
No.
Okay, so there's a little bit of spicy drama here. So again, spoiler alert for Eternals. If you have not seen Eternals, skip forward a fair bit, or just come back when you've watched it. So at the end of Eternals, Icarus flies into the sun and kills himself. A lot of people thought that was cheesy irony. I really love the irony. If you don't get the irony, listeners, Icarus is Greek mythos, I believe.
Yes.
Of the guy who flew too close to the sun and his wings burnt off and he fell and died.
Yeah. Which is the film, they joke about that they were the ones that made that story up.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of the Eternals are based off
Greek mythology
old gods. Well, no, they're just old gods from all over the world, aren't they?
Yeah. I think it's something like, I think at least half of them is all Greek stuff, and then there's like a bit of different stuff. But yeah, it's all like old mythology or gods and different things.
There was a woman on TikTok, and she did a TikTok going, when your brother's a stunt double in the MCU, and he's now working on... Yes. So, did you see the bit after that?
No.
Where she tested Marvel fans. One sec. Let me give the context to people who haven't seen it. So she was like, when your brother's a stunt double in the MCU and you know he's working on bringing back a character, but you can't say anything, ha ha ha. It's like the ha 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 sound or whatever. So she really tested Marvel fans, and it took them, I think, a grand total of about 46 minutes to work out that her brother was the stunt double for Richard Madden, who plays Icarus.
Okay.
So everyone's like, okay, cool. So they're bringing Icarus back. Whether that's true or not is irrelevant. I just thought that was quite funny. But I think you've just got everyone in the comics panicking, going, shit, have we just got her brother fired by working that out too quickly?
See, do you know what the funny thing is? I saw that TikTok and I didn't read the comments, but I was like, I bet it wouldn't take long for people to work out who her brother is, and then work out who he's been a stunt double for.
So there's like, I want to say there's like 3 stuntmen in the MCU who get used a lot.
Yeah, there is.
And they cover a lot of characters. So it's like her brother was one of them 3 guys. You're not really going to be able to work out who it is. Because you'd be like, okay, they've been stunt doubles. They've been stunt doubles for each other, for fuck's sake. But the fact that the only person that her brother seems to have worked for that's
Marvel,
also been a part of the MCU is Richard Madden. Is that absolutely cracking me up? I do wonder though, if she was allowed to have that information and signed an NDA with Disney or Marvel, whoever, I feel like this could just be a misdirect. And maybe this is just me always thinking Marvel know everything that's going on, but it just feels like it could be a misdirect.
I honestly, I get where you're coming from, but I don't actually like the sense I got from this was like, I doubt. I bet she had to sign an NDA. She obviously had to sign an NDA for some reason, which means like, because usually in those situations, like family don't get to know. And they don't get family to sign NDAs. They just don't tell them, or they're just told they can't tell family.
You never know. The reason she might have had to sign the NDA, she might be a brother's manager or something.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking. It's like she could be included in work somewhere, so that. But I kind of think it was. She just didn't maybe expect people to work it out that quickly.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe she just didn't realise how fucking keen the internet can be.
Yeah. But that's interesting. They're going to bring...
It cracked me up. It cracked me up. So, is there anything else going on with DC at the minute? No, it's all pretty quiet until Batman's out, isn't it?
Yeah, Batman comes out and then...
Early March.
Yeah, it's
very
early March. Because I looked it up, because when I was trying to work out if this Batman's, like, the thing about it with Flashpoint, because I was looking at when Flashpoint comes out and when Batman comes out.
I really, although I won't be watching Aquaman 2 in cinema, I really want to know how they're going to explain Flashpoint in the summer, resetting the DCEU straight into the Aquaman film.
That's gonna fuck.
You know what it is? That's gonna come out. Everyone's just like, it's gonna tank at the box office anyway because I haven't heard.
They're just gonna act like it never happened.
And then you're just gonna look at it and you're gonna go, the fuck happened? And then you'll get a producer or a director or someone come out and just go, we genuinely didn't get told anything.
It'll be that, and then it'll be like, someone will go, so how does Aquaman 2 now fit into things? And they'll go, what film? they'll just act like it didn't happen because it tanked. It's going to tank and it's going to get absolutely just, storylines just going to get destroyed. So,
and do you know what? It could be a good film, but it's going to tank regardless because enough people are refusing to watch anything they haven't heard in it.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. What I really want to say, and I never know, maybe it'll get brought back up in 10 years' time, who knows?
Cool.
If, I don't know how the contract situation works, surprisingly, if DC has any way to pull themselves away from Warner Brothers and they're looking for their Kevin Feige, hit me the fuck up. I have got documents on documents of planned preparation for this. I will make you so much money.
Here's
just hit me up.
A bold thought, bringing up like the idea of the contracts, and if that is the case, and like DC could end up with their contracts back to give to someone new, what if Disney bought them?
I don't know if Disney would actually be allowed to buy them, because when they went to buy Fox, there was worry about them owning, going into monopoly territory.
Yeah.
And I don't know if DC would flip them into too much paper sales, essentially.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I didn't think of it.
I'm not saying it is impossible, I just don't know if that would even be possible.
Yeah.
And also, you've got to remember...
Like, if we got Disney... That just opens the door to like DC versus Marvel stuff.
Yeah. So here's my genuine concern with that, ignoring any worries about monopolization. Disney already has a rule where it won't have 2 films out in the cinema in the same month.
You said we'd be screwed.
We'd go from getting like 3 or 4 Marvel films a year to getting half that amount, because we'd also be getting DC films.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'd also have the problem of, because they're releasing them half as often,
True.
the actors are, as stupid it sounds, aging faster.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And they're looking to introduce a lot of characters, so you don't want to go from a plan of, we're pumping out a new film every year with this particular actor, whether it's a crossover or their own film or TV show, and then all of a sudden going, okay, you film this now, fuck off for 4 years.
Okay, do you know what the best way is? We need Sony.
Yes.
To finally just like have a marriage with Disney in terms of, we're gonna work together on this thing. Like,
tell you what,
let's actually come together on like films and stuff, and then they just go and buy DC.
Once we are the biggest nerdcast in the world, we will of course be making money and have to start our own company. Just to be on the safe side, we'll call it Cutscene Convoys Productions. And then once we are just billionaires from this individual podcast or nothing else, because we're going to be that successful, we will buy DC.
I'm down for this.
And then we'll just cast all the boys.
We will hire John. I forget how to say his last name.
John.
Is it John? Or is it Dave? Why am I fucking blank? The Marvel guy. Kevin. Why did I think it was John? Where's that come
Kevin?
from?
I'll be our Kevin.
Yeah, but no, we just hire him and you and him work together on it.
Oh, he can be my understudy.
The partner, like, come together on it. You go, right, this is what I want to do and we're going to do, and you're going to help me make it happen.
Yeah.
And you can fill in the details.
Like, when it comes to comics, I'm probably I'd probably more be considered DC fanboy in comics. But when it comes to movies and to an extent now as well, TV shows, I'm just like, I'm just sitting there going, DC has all these great characters that are being wasted, and it makes me sad. On other news,
like every year they just get further behind.
Yeah, they do, exactly. And the problem is they're trying to catch up instead of just doing it properly. So, Rotten Tomatoes announced its like awards that it gives out for 2021.
Yeah, I saw that.
And WandaVision was the highest rated TV show.
I'm glad.
The parts of the internet I'm on are telling me that was the worst Marvel show somehow. So for that to have been rated the best makes me like wonder, like, where are the people who are very open like me and like yourself about their love for WandaVision? Because I'm not seeing them anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. Like, most people I think the people that like speak out about like which ones are the best shows are the ones that like to follow kind of the crowd.
Yeah, maybe.
Sort of thing. I've always felt like each one of the Marvel shows from Australia or whatever, they were all great in different ways. And they had
a lot of fun with them.
WandaVision was a great example of kind of TV style. They did such a great job of every episode was a different sort of sitcom style. They had so much creativity, like creative freedom with it, that it just turned out great.
My only complaints with the Marvel shows last year were in all but Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The ending, the finale, felt a little lackluster.
Yeah.
I would not like the shows we're getting this year to have the same 4 episodes of, who's the big bad? End of the 5th episode, the person that everyone's already guessed it is gets revealed to be the big bad, and then the second half of episode 6 is fighting them, and then it's over.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I don't know, it's going to sound ridiculous. I'd like them to bump the series up to 9 episodes and break it down almost like a film, in the sense of you've got your beginning, your middle, and your end, 3 episodes each.
Yeah.
And just give us a bit more time with the villain. That's what I loved about the Netflix shows. In the Netflix shows, they did this thing that it will get to a point if it's done properly where it gets called a trope, but I'm in love with it. You take the bad guy and you make it clear they are a bad guy.
Yep.
You then make the person feel sorry for them and go, oh, wow, that could be me. I just didn't have that bad a life like that person did. Maybe they're just unlucky. And then you have a moment right near the end, but not quite at the end, an episode, maybe 2 before. They do something where you go, oh, no, shit. They are the bad guy. Yes, they had a shit childhood or a shit whatever. They had traumatic experiences, but they are still the bad guy. And that's what they did with Kilgrave and Kingpin in Netflix so expertly.
Mm-hmm. Do we think they're doing that with Wanda?
I don't think they turn Wanda into a bad guy. They turn her into
the villain.
They turn her into an antagonist to certain people.
Okay.
So you know how the Punisher isn't a bad guy?
Yeah, anti-hero.
But he's an antagonist to Spider-Man and Daredevil and lots of other people in New York who disagree with what he's doing, but they understand why he's doing it.
Yeah.
I can see Wanda kind of filling in that role beautifully.
Okay. Yeah.
When shit really hits the fan and it's Avengers level threat, she's fighting alongside them. Other than that, leave me the fuck alone. Because the problem is, she's so powerful. If she's just left to be a straight up goody two shoes like a Captain America, I mean, she just stomps everyone. Whereas if she just wants to be left alone, you have a reason for Marvel fans to not lose their mind and go, oh, where's Wanda? Blah, 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 blah.
I think it'd be interesting to see if they... Not like everyone's presuming she's going to become... Or everyone's predicting she might be the villain in Multiverse of Madness. And I think it is more like what you say, actually, now that you put it that way. It's like, I think we see her kind of cross that line in Multiverse of Madness where she becomes more like an anti-hero by something that she does. And I think it's going to relate to her wants out of the multiverse versus what Doctor Strange feels should happen.
Yeah. So, before we move on to the Superhero Showdown, I have a little question for you.
Okay.
So, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness has been confirmed to have a fuck ton of cameos.
Yep.
But none of the cameos themselves have been confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
If you get to choose right now one cameo,
only one
that is definitely going to happen in the film, what one is it?
Oh. I'm gonna go only because I've been wanting this for fucking ages. I want Deadpool.
Yeah.
And the only reason I also partly feels probably quite believable it could happen is because I know from the comics that Deadpool and Spider-Man have this bromance.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been wanting that ever since the first Deadpool film.
That reminds me, do you want to hear a really funny meme I saw?
Oh, hang on. Because
go on, no, finish your thought first.
Doctor Strange is obviously this whole multiverse thing has kind of started from the Spider-Man film. It would make sense to me that he bumps into someone that also knows of Spider-Man and that kind of reasoning as to why Deadpool might appear. But yeah, go on.
So I saw a meme that Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is the protector of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but the boyfriend of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
that actually
and that dynamic, you can just see it.
Do you know why that even more believable is? Because Ryan Reynolds and Andrew Garfield kissed at the
that iconic kiss.
Was it Golden Globes?
Golden Globes or Oscars.
Yeah, one of them. But yeah, I think if I had to pick one person, it'd probably be Deadpool. Just I just want him to be in the in the MCU properly.
I'm gonna say this cameo. And the only reason I want it to be this one is because if it isn't this one, I don't think we're ever going to get it. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
That was my second choice. It was literally cameos. I was like, oh, Hugh Jackman, Deadpool, and then you went just one, and I was like, oh.
He's quite old now for the role. it'd be asking a lot of him. Bearing in mind that the X-Men aren't even introduced yet, it would be asking a lot of him to wait around and keep himself in good enough shape for that kind of a high intensity role. So I would like us to have a cameo of his Wolverine in this film, purely so we get to see him in the MCU.
I suppose, though, in the X-Men storyline, he is like the old man Logan now.
Well, I mean, that was a flash forward. You've got to remember the X-Men timeline's all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
We could bump into a younger version of him.
We could, and but they could quite easily, with his current age, just kind of play up, lean more into that end of his story.
I do get what you're saying. My problem is, and you know me, I'm all for bending stories a little bit because to make them work, because Marvel do it really well. The old man Logan story does not work nicely in the current landscape of the MCU.
Yeah,
because it is like a war-torn world where you've got Red Skull wearing Captain America's bloodied suit and Hulk shagging She-Hulk and eating their Hulkling babies and shit. So it just doesn't work in an MCU where it's put together and not falling apart.
True.
Sadly.
I do think you're right.
But a Hugh Jackman cameo would probably make me cry,
just to kind of tie in X-Men. Out of everybody, he's been in every X-Men film, and they've traveled through, and they've traveled through time in some of the films and different things. So it would make sense that he's the one that travels multiversally.
Yeah,
out of any of the characters.
Well, it's kind of a joke amongst comic book nerds that no matter what the X-Men lineup is, Wolverine is there.
Yeah, and it's Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, no. Just even in the comics, no matter what lineup of the X-Men you're fighting, Wolverine is there. He's just always there, no matter what. It's like you've killed Wolverine, and that's why these guys are coming for you. Wolverine's there. You're in a timeline where Wolverine doesn't exist. Doesn't matter. Wolverine's there. And it's just he's so iconic that I just don't want to lose. I don't want to lose out on Hugh Jackman in the MCU. Even if it is just a cameo and we never get anything else from it, I would love to finally see him on the big screen in a Marvel Studios film.
Do you know, if they do tie in that universe, because that Hugh Jackman, the X-Men is the same universe that Deadpool's in.
Yes.
Because they haven't explicitly said it, but it's pretty much
no. They kind of have. It's just the continuity of the X-Men films
kind of
is a mess.
Yeah.
So I don't think Marvel want to touch that incarnation of characters with a barge pole, other than Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, because you can just explain it by he's Deadpool. Who gives a fuck?
I'm just wondering if we get Deadpool in, there's still an opportunity there for Hugh Jackman to make a cameo in a Deadpool film.
Yeah.
Because it's that whole band in the comics that Deadpool and Wolverine have. So there's a couple of different ways that we might be able to see Hugh Jackman appear in the MCU before he gets too old, which would be sick.
So we're ready to move on to the Superhero Showdown.
Yes.
Did you see what it is already?
Yeah, it was from Luke, one of our friends.
Yeah. So one of our friends, Luke, has given us our Superhero Showdown for the week. We have got MCU Dr Strange versus MCU Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch. Now, I have very strong feelings on this one, Hori, so I want you to go first. With your thoughts. Talk me through.
From what little I don't know a lot about either of them, really more than what we've kind of experienced in the MCU. I probably know a bit more about.
Well, I mean, it's only the MCU versions that matter.
Yeah,
true. You're just taking it based on what you've seen on screen.
Okay, so if we're going based on what we've seen on screen, I would lean towards Doctor Strange maybe winning in a fight. Purely more. This is before we see. This is set before Multiverse, so it's only because we kind of only just seen Wanda kind of becomes Scarlet Witch, so she doesn't necessarily fully know her potential yet. And that's the only reason I lean to Doctor Strange having a bit of an advantage, because he has a bit more kind of knowledge and...
Oh, this is so interesting, because I'm fully on the opposite side of you.
In my head is like, I wonder if he'd be... Like, my thought is just like, he might have enough knowledge that he can contain her at the moment in whatever fight they have, but like, she could very easily, in the fight, just kind of get more powerful than she realizes she can be, and then maybe then she would probably win.
So I don't mean to say you're wrong, but you're wrong. She smokes him. He doesn't even know what the fuck's happened before he's clapped. She's just too powerful. This guy, and I know it was a difficult spell, was getting spoken to by a teenager and lost his concentration and almost destroyed the universe. She, in a grief-stricken state, created an entire reality where she had control over people like puppets. She's soloing him. You could blindfold her, put her in a wheelchair. It doesn't matter. She's ending him so quickly. Stephen Strange is an academic. He has studied. He has studied almost the science of magic, and he is brilliant at it. Magic resides within Wanda. She has chaos magic. She's not getting touched by him. He goes to do something and she just crumples him into nothing. I genuinely think this is like, if they are fighting to end one another, which I've got to assume they are, otherwise getting morality into it, you're struggling.
Yeah.
If they're fighting to end each other, she's not even close. He doesn't touch her. She crumples him and then moves on to the next person who's wronged her. She managed to bring down the Avengers when she thought she only got her powers by dumb luck all the way back in Age of Ultron.
That's true.
She's practiced more since then. She now realises she's the Scarlet Witch and she's got this chaos magic. At the end of WandaVision, it looked like she was struggling in the Darkhold or a book like that. You've also got to remember, she took down Agatha Harkness, who put her in a trap and has hundreds of years of experience with magic, and she still bitch slapped her. I don't get me wrong, you're entitled to your opinion. I don't think it's close.
Okay, from what you've said and your reason, okay, I would lean to she win. I still think, like, in this situation of, yes, she is incredibly powerful, and yes, she's starting to realize what she's capable of. I still think, like, the fight with Agatha was kind of, she reached that potential due to kind of the strain of the fight kind of brought it out of her. So I don't think she has full understanding and control of how to do that. So
you're putting the experience of power that Strange has as a big plus.
I think more so just in the sense of, I think Doctor Strange would start strong and would kind of get the advantage on it then maybe, but then I think it's because of, like, he might try and trap her in the mirror plane or whatever, but like, he'll be doing something that is him currently winning the fight, and then that gets her to a point where, like, she just then, her potential comes out, and I can see that, like, she obviously would smoke him then. I think that's the thing, is like, I think it might not be as one-sided as you're saying, in my opinion. I think Doctor Strange early on would make it a difficult fight, but I think the longer that fight went on, it just would turn the other way. I think. Okay,
I see your points. I do, but I'm still sticking hard with Wanda smacks him into a different plane of existence, and he's either dead on impact or too scared to come back. But hey, that's the beauty of it. Yeah. I cannot wait to see. Hopefully, people in the comments tell us if they agree with it, because we've got a bit of a split decision. I think Wanda absolutely claps him. Horry thinks it's a fair fight that could go either way. Do we have anything else to discuss, or are we wrapping up there on that nail biter?
Nail biter. I think that covers all the, like, kind of the points. Obviously, at the moment we haven't got any shows coming out, and we haven't got any films on either side, really. So
yeah. So I guess what it comes down to is, if you've watched this because you don't care about spoilers, catch up so that nothing else gets spoiled for you.
yes,
Make sure you follow this on whatever platform you're listening on so that you don't miss episodes.
yes, we are fully on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. And
then follow us on YouTube and TikTok, because some of this will be cut up into shorter bits that you can re-listen to tell us how wrong we are again. Yeah. And at some point when I get around to it, I'll come up with some unique bits of content just for the shorter formats.
Also, if you aren't caught up and you're not listening because you're worried, so there's the shorts and TikToks help.
I'm trying to keep them spoilerish free for the minute.
Yeah, and also just like some people have seen some stuff and not others, so it allows them to pick which segments they can listen to. So
exactly.
Good subscribe.
Yeah, exactly. And follow us on Twitter. We'll post updates there. There'll be stuff for you to discuss, and you'll be able to tweet us, ask us questions, give us things to discuss that you want to hear.
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
And make sure to give us just as a reminder, give us your Superhero Showdowns for next week.
Yes, more Superhero Showdowns, more characters you want to hear profiles about. Let us know what you want to hear. Okay, that's all from us. Have a good weekend.
Catch you next week.